today we're going to be talking about FileMaker's Outlook calendar integration. The first step setting up this integration to work with your FileMaker solution is to log into Microsoft's Azure portal and go to the Azure Active Directory. Once we're there, we're going to go to our app registrations and create a new registration. Here we'll input a name and a redirect URI for the application. The redirect URI can be any web address. It does not have to be a corporate address of any kind. Then we'll select Register. Register will bring you to the page for your new application. In this case, I already have one set up, DB Calendar Example. And the first thing you'll see is an Overview tab. This tab will display important information like the application's display name and the client ID. From here, we'll go to our Certificates and Secrets menu where we'll create a new client secret. A client secret is like a password for your Azure application. And here you will put in a description as well as when the client secret will expire. The maximum time you can have before client secret will expire is 2 years from the date of creation. After that, you will need to create a new client secret and update your FileMaker solution to reflect that. Once you've selected Add, you will have a new client secret ID as well as a value. You will want to copy this value and save it somewhere safe, as once you leave this page, you will not be able to access the value again. From here, we're going to go to our API permissions and set up the permissions for our application to access our FileMaker solution in Outlook. We're going to be adding 4 permissions, all of which through the Microsoft Graph API. Calendars read-write, which will allow the API to access the user's calendar and interact with it, creating, updating events. Calendars read-write shared will do the same, but for calendars that have been delegated to or shared with the user. Offline access will allow the application to continue updating and reading the user's information even while it is not actively being used. And user read is going to be used for our sign-in with Outlook and getting our access tokens and our code. And once we have granted consent to use these, we will go ahead and go to our FileMaker solution and get started. We have one here. This is the demo file that we have at the bottom of this article. And first, we will enter in our application ID from the Azure application, our redirect URI that you entered while setting up the application, our 4 permissions that we will be using for our URL scope, our client secret that you have copied and saved somewhere, as well as our time zone. In my case, I'm located in Indianapolis, so I'm using Eastern Standard Time. For a full list of time zones that Microsoft and Outlook support, you can click this link right here and it will bring you to a list of those. And from here, we're going to click our Connect button, which will bring us to a sign-in page for Microsoft. Here, you will go ahead and sign in to Outlook. And the first time you do this, you will be asked to allow permissions to access calendars, essentially everything that we had set up in the application. And once we sign in, what will happen is using our Outlook account, it will access the Graph API and pull in an access code and tokens that we need to continue using Outlook through FileMaker. And so we will get our tokens, and what it does is it will take all of that information that we'd input on the first screen, the ID, the client secret, our scope, and generate a URL that we will end up posting to fetch our access tokens and other information. And then we'll set those tokens to FileMaker fields. Once that's all been done, we will go to our event menu where we can go ahead and just view our calendar. We can see that it has some events on it. And in this top left, we will have to be able to look at our access code and our tokens, as well as when our access token will expire. These tokens expire every 60 minutes. And once those are expired, you will have to run a refresh script to get a new token to continue using the API. And so what that does is essentially it is the same as our get token, but now it will include in that URL the refresh token that we'd created previously, and it will create a new group of tokens for you, a new access token, a new refresh token, and the new time that it will expire. And now we're able to create a new event. So first, let's say, let's get lunch tomorrow at noon. So Saturday the 19th at 12 p.m. and we'll end the same day at 1 p.m. And then we're going to go ahead and put in a title for our event, lunch, and we can verify or change our time zone here. Still going to keep Eastern Standard Time. Then we'll click this Create Event button, which will post to Outlook via the Graph API using all of our information once again, using this function, this Outlook calendar post script, where it will just take the body and title of our event and perform a post. And once that goes through, it will go ahead and get our event ID and our change key, which we need to update the event through FileMaker as well. Without these, you are not able to work with the same event through FileMaker directly. And next we're going to go ahead and talk about updating our events. So let's say we need to make lunch a little longer because turns out someone you haven't seen in forever is coming. We can extend that to 1:30 and it will update, and we will select to update. And what that will do is essentially the same thing as our create event, but it will use in the URL, it will use our event ID to access the previously created event and change the information on that. And the way this is all returned is through a JSON body, which using this result button we can go ahead and look at. And what you can see is that it has all of the information that was needed to generate and has returned it all to us, as well as our change key and our event ID. These were the basics of creating and updating events in Outlook with FileMaker. If you have any questions or want to get started on your own, you can download the file at the bottom of the article or contact us at DB Services with any questions. This has been Dylan with DB, and thank you for listening.